According to the most recent Maryland census data, Salvadorans make up the largest number of Hispanics in the state, with 26.3%, significantly larger than the national percentage of 3.3%.
So, this is something the media likes to do a lot when they're trying to push a narrative. They put out percentages and they kind of mix around numbers to get the highest percentage they possibly can. I was never able to find the 26.3% number. I did find that 2.1% of Maryland's total population identifies as Salvadorian. If you take that number and then you take the number of the Hispanic population, and you take the total of the Salvadorian population, then the 26.3, you probably would come around there, I would imagine. Honestly, it seems like they did the math themselves, because I couldn't find that number anywhere, and of course they don't cite any sources or anything on their articles. So, first there's that. They're making a number that any other way you cut it is single-digit percentages and turn it into 26.3. And they also give the impression that 26.3% of the Hispanic population in Maryland is going to be deported once this temporary status ends, which just isn't true. There's 2 million Hispanics of Salvadorian origin in the United States. So I believe the number was about 140,000 of them are in Maryland. So the odds that all 200,000 are encompassed in Maryland are not very good. So that number in itself is not anywhere near as high as far as who's going to be affected by this. Then you also have the fact that they never mention that the Trump administration actually extended this temporary status. And they not only extended it, they extended it and put a few extra months on the back end. I'm assuming to give everyone a chance to get their affairs in order and everything together. So, don't believe there was a single mention that this all started in 2001. They came here because there was some devastating earthquakes in El Salvador. Again, they never mentioned that. I believe it was May of this year's when they were up for renewal again. And traditionally, these renewals are only in 6-month or 1-year durations. They don't normally extend them out as far as Trump has in this case. And the big question is, why are they still here? It's been almost 18 years. At that point, it'll have been 18 years. Why are they still here? What's going to change in their country that hasn't changed in 18 years, in 20 years, or in 30 years? I mean, what big turnaround is their country going to have? Because I keep hearing these arguments that, oh, it's still not safe to go back. Oh, it's still not safe there. Well, it's their country. The United States opened up their doors and said, you can come here because you've had a devastating event happen in your country, but only for a certain amount of time. And the time's got to end at some point.
This week, the Trump administration announced its decision to end temporary protected status for Salvadoran immigrants living in the U.S., forcing nearly 200,000 to leave by September 2019 or face deportation. Maryland Senator Ben Cardin is one lawmaker who's voiced strong disapproval, saying these are legal immigrants. They came here seeking refuge from tragedy. Now about 1/3 of them are U.S. homeowners. They are the parents of more than 190,000 U.S.-born children. Forcing them to leave will tear apart and devastate American families.
Okay, so the legal immigrant comment is misleading at best, because they're here on temporary status. They didn't immigrate here, go through all the channels, and get permanent residency. They're temporary status immigrants. Again, no mention. They've been here since 2001. The family torn apart thing, again, it's just another ploy to try and turn this into some kind of personal issue. They came here on temporary status. They chose to stay here and have kids and buy houses, knowing full well they were here on a temporary status, and they had to know it was going to end at some point. You want to put some blame on the previous administrations for not sending them back when they probably should have, when the country had recovered, whether it was 4 or 5 years later. I don't have any problem with that. I think it is kind of messed up that they kept getting extended out, and I think it is misleading, but at the end of the day, there was a contract, and that contract was not only with them, it was with the American people. When this happened, it was under the understanding that they were going to have to go home eventually, that they weren't going to stay here forever. I mean, this is literally the equivalent of you renting a room for your friend and telling them they can stay in your house for a year, and they buy a bunch of bedroom furniture and get a dog, and then they say, well, you can't make me leave after a year. That's not fair. I should be able to stay here as long as I want. No. You were under the understanding that this was temporary. This is no different. And to act like you're sending them back to some horrible country, again, what's going to change? Most places you send anyone to from the United States is going to seem like a horrible country. So, and then what's the end game? There's no solutions offered here. What's Ben Cardin's solution? For them to just stay forever in temporary status? Every president should just renew the temporary status? Until what? I mean, how many generations? Because as far as I'm concerned, their kids shouldn't be considered American citizens. They were here on a temporary status, and we were nice enough to let them come here when something devastating happened. They shouldn't be allowed to pop out a kid and then say, oh, well, now I should get to stay. These families aren't going to be torn up. The kids can go home with their parents. The most disgusting thing about this entire situation is it's all about votes. We saw it in that email where they were talking about how they need DACA to stay because they need the votes. They need it to be able to win elections. This is all about votes. This has nothing to do. He doesn't care about these people. He doesn't care about these El Salvadorian people. These aren't people that are close to his heart that he cares so much about, and he's devastated that they're going to have to go home. He sees votes going away. If he sees votes leaving the country, that's all he sees. And it's disgusting. And it's disgusting that they would exploit people like this, and they constantly do it.